The streets of downtown Chicago were bustling, filled with hurried footsteps and the hum of conversations. But amidst the chaos, one figure remained still, a man sitting on the cold pavement, wrapped in a tattered coat. His name was John Parker, a former soldier who had once proudly served his country. Now he clutched a small cardboard sign that read, "Veteran in need, please help." John's face, weathered by years of struggle, told a story of resilience and despair. His eyes scanned the passing crowd, searching for a glimmer of compassion, but none came. People avoided his gaze, sidestepping him as if he were a mere obstacle in their path. The wind bit harshly, but John barely noticed. He was lost in his thoughts, recalling a life that once felt purposeful, a life before the explosion that took his leg and, eventually, his hope. As he sat there, a sleek black SUV slowed to a stop at the curb. The door opened, and out stepped Donald Trump. His sharp gaze swept across the scene, landing on John and his sign. For the first time in years, John felt seen. Trump's gaze lingered on John for a moment before he took a step forward. The busy street continued its rhythm, but for John, time seemed to slow. A man in a suit walking toward him was the last thing he expected. "What's your name?" Trump asked, his tone both direct and curious. John hesitated, unsure if he should respond. People rarely spoke to him unless it was to dismiss him. "It's John," he finally mumbled, his voice barely audible over the bustling city. Trump crouched slightly, bringing himself to John's level. "John, tell me what happened. How did you end up here?" John's lips quivered as he tried to find the words. "I served in the army for over 10 years. He began. "I lost my leg during a mission overseas. When I came back, nothing was the same. My job application was rejected everywhere. I couldn't keep up with the rent, and here I am." Trump's expression softened as John spoke. It wasn't just the words, it was the pain in his voice, the years of resilience that were now eroded. For the first time in years, someone seemed to truly listen. John took a deep breath as he continued, his voice carrying the weight of his struggles. "I've been on the streets for 3 years now. I've faced more rejection and judgment than I ever thought possible." He paused, his gaze dropping to the pavement. "One day, I walked into a diner to get something warm to eat. I only had a few dollars, but the cashier looked at me like I didn't belong. She called the manager, who told me, 'We don't serve your kind here.'" Trump's brow furrowed. "Your kind?" he repeated, his tone sharp with disapproval. John nodded. "They didn't even care I was a veteran. To them, I was just another homeless man. It wasn't the only time either. I've been shoved, yelled at, called names, all because I'm down on my luck." Trump straightened, his face set in determination. "That's unacceptable," he said firmly. "No one who sacrificed for their country should be treated this way." The words hung in the air, a rare moment of silence in the busy street. For the first time in a long while, John felt something he thought he had lost: hope. Trump stood up, his commanding presence catching the attention of a few passers-by. He turned to one of his aides and spoke decisively. "Find the nearest hotel and book a room for him. Make sure it's ready by the time we're done here." The aide nodded and stepped aside to make a phone call. Meanwhile, Trump looked back at John. "You shouldn't be out here," he said. "Not after what you've been through. We're going to change that today." John blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. Why are you doing this?" he stammered. Trump crouched down again, meeting John's eyes. "Because you deserve better. You served this country, and it's time someone served you." Moments later, a black sedan pulled up to the curb. Trump motioned to John to get in. "You'll have a warm bed and a hot meal tonight," he said. "And tomorrow, we'll talk about what's next." John hesitated before stepping into the car. As the vehicle pulled away, he glanced back at the street corner where he had spent so many hopeless days. For the first time, he felt like his life was about to change. The sedan arrived at an upscale hotel, its grandeur a stark contrast to the streets John had called home. A concierge was already waiting at the entrance, prepared for his arrival. As John stepped out, he hesitated, feeling out of place in his worn coat and battered shoes. "Welcome, Mr. Parker," the concierge said with a warm smile. "We've prepared a suite for you. Please, follow me." John's steps were tentative as he entered the lavish lobby, the warmth and light overwhelming him. He was escorted to a spacious suite where fresh clothes, a hot shower, and a steaming meal awaited. For the first time in years, John felt human again. As he sat by the window that night, eating his first proper meal in months, he couldn't hold back the tears. The bed, the food, the kindness, it all felt surreal. The next morning, a knock on the door woke him. It was one of Trump's aides. "Mr. Trump would like to meet with you at his office this afternoon," the aide said. John nodded, his heart pounding. Whatever was coming next, he knew it would be life-changing. Later that afternoon, John found himself in a towering skyscraper, its sleek design a symbol of power and success. He was escorted to a private meeting room where Donald Trump was waiting. Trump stood as John entered, extending his hand with a firm handshake. "John, have a seat." Trump said, gesturing toward a chair. John sat down, feeling both nervous and hopeful. "I don't know how to thank you for what you've done," he began, his voice wavering. Trump shook his head. "You don't need to thank me. What I want to talk about is your future." Trump leaned forward, his tone direct but encouraging. "You've proven your strength and resilience. That's what people need to see, and I want to help you show them. I've arranged for you to take a role at one of my companies. It's not just a job, it's an opportunity to lead, to inspire, and to rebuild your life." John was speechless. "You're giving me a chance?" he asked, almost in disbelief. Trump smiled. "Not just a chance, a new start. But there's one condition. When you're back on your feet, promise me you'll help someone else." John nodded, tears welling up in his eyes. "I promise." John's first day at his new job felt like a dream. The office was modern, filled with motivated people who greeted him warmly. His new role involved working on community outreach programs for veterans, a cause he was deeply passionate about. At first, he was nervous, unsure if he could rise to the occasion, but as days turned into weeks, John found his stride. His experiences gave him a unique perspective, and his colleagues respected him for it. He quickly became a mentor, helping other veterans navigate their challenges and find purpose again. One afternoon, Trump made an unannounced visit to the office. As he walked in, he found John speaking to a group of veterans, sharing his story and inspiring them to keep going. Trump watched silently, a proud smile on his face. After the meeting, Trump approached John. "I knew you'd make the most of this opportunity," he said. John smiled, standing a little taller. "I couldn't have done it without your help. Now it's my turn to pay it forward." Trump nodded. "You've already started, John. Keep going." As Trump left, John felt a sense of pride he hadn't known in years. Months turned into a year, and John had transformed his life in ways he never thought possible. He had not only rebuilt his own future, but had also become a beacon of hope for others. Veterans from all walks of life came to him for advice, guidance, and support. John spearheaded a new initiative within the company, creating programs to provide housing, jobs, and mental health resources for struggling veterans. His work attracted national attention, and he was invited to speak at numerous events, sharing his story and the importance of giving back. One particular event stood out, a gala where veterans and their families gathered to celebrate their resilience. John stood at the podium, the lights shining brightly on him, but his focus was on the audience. "I'm here today because someone believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself," John said, his voice steady and full of conviction. "That belief gave me a chance to rebuild my life, and now it's my mission to do the same for others." In the crowd, Donald Trump watched quietly, his expression one of pride. For him, this wasn't just about helping one man, it was about creating a ripple effect of kindness and justice. And that's the end of our story. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next story. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.